that with a lot of the strategies that we've been looking at, because they do well for a little while. You know, they'll do well on a breakout, and they'll do well for a couple of months, and then we'll go through a little bit of a period where there's not much movement and we start to struggle. You know, we don't get a lot of movement on our market, and we're not making any money basically, because we're a one-trick pony. We've only got one strategy. When that strategy or that market isn't performing, we're really kind of sitting on our hands. But a lot of us still keep trading because we want to be in the market every day. So, and then when it's time to realize that perhaps we need to change our strategy or change our market, it's too late. We've already done a little bit of damage to our account. So therein lies the problem. Therein lies the challenge for us. So all of the research I've done and information I've gathered from various respected traders points towards the power of a multi-system strategy. So to me, I'm absolutely convinced that, and I'll back this up with obviously the performance of stats and real-time trading, that a multi-system approach is absolutely the way to go in relation to your trading. So some of the people that, some of the work that I've been looking at and doing, and some of the traders that I've spoken to and researched, all acknowledge the power of and necessity of a multi-system strategy. Van Tharp, Jack Schwager, Market Wizards also recommends where possible including a multi-system strategy. I'm going to do a little bit of a definition here in a second about what that is. Diversification should be extended to systems as well as markets. So ideally the greatest degree of diversification would be achieved by having a counter trend, pattern recognition, and a trend following system. So he talks about having three particular approaches to the market, where you've got a counter trend where the breakout occurs. At some point that trend is going to weaken and reverse, and you know, whether it's based on price divergence or volume, we want to be able to take advantage of that. So that's where the counter trend play comes in. Pattern recognition, again, we might see double tops, double bottoms, breakout strategies. So there are a number of things we can do to utilize these three key methods of trading as part of a multi-system approach to the markets. And most of us with our strategy will be able to fit our strategy, our one strategy, into one of these criteria. We might have a trend following momentum based system, and as I mentioned before, if we lose that momentum in the market we're in, then we're in a little bit of trouble. So Tom Bazzo, $95 million under management, runs 4 to 6 strategies scanning 20 to 25 markets daily. So he has fully automated his trading, trades the futures markets, and he basically just scans markets and runs his strategies and runs a multi-system strategy. Now obviously that's the higher end, where, you know, and the question then comes, how do retail traders get into this space? How do they take advantage? Because really it's very difficult to think how you would run 4 to 6 strategies in one market. You know, if you're starting with a smaller account, and we'll address that a little bit later on. So John Sweeney, in his book Campaign Trading, talks about, he goes to great lengths to map out and acknowledge the superior performance of multi-systems and multi-markets. Now, if you're thinking, right, well, I'm just not sure how this is going to work for me, we're going to get to that. But everything I've been looking at is really acknowledging the fact that your best chance of success, your best edge, is going to come from having that multi-system strategy. And there's two other components to this that you're going to see that will absolutely convince you that it's not just, I mean, I acknowledge that it is that as well, but there's also a very powerful tool we can use, or strategy, with our money management to just even increase our profitability on our trading and our performance. So we'll go into that shortly too. So diversification means that the markets we know are either up, down, sideways. They're sideways 80% of the time. So, John Sweeney talks about the thrust and parry of trading in the markets, and he describes it like a battle, and that's why he calls it campaigns that you go in with, and you're taking your 2, 3, 4, 5 best strategies, and you're really working your campaigns to gain ground or profit, and then hold ground and become defensive. If you get a big trending move, you're trying to ride the trend, and then when you get towards the end of that trend, you're looking to bring in some of your stronger, your left or right flank with your counter trend strategy. So, it's a very colourful look at the way, comparing the markets to a battlefield. But the points he makes in that book are very, very poignant and really definitely worth a read if you haven't had a good look at some of the stuff that he's done. So, as we said, diversification is really, if we look at what we've got as far as tools in the market, it's really critical that we are able to take advantage of every opportunity that comes, because they are opportunities. Even if we do get into this sideways type of activity, that's an opportunity, and it just depends on whether we've got the tools to be able to take advantage of that. So what happens if your system or strategy goes into a drawdown? So we know that as we're trading, there's always going to be that, if we've got a good strategy, good system, or we've got multiple systems, there'll be that kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So there will be times when we're losing money in our account, we're going through a drawdown period. It's just the nature of trading. We need to accept that as part of our probabilities. And I think if we've been trading this long, we generally have a feeling that that's going to happen with us. So, but how are we making money, and how do we reduce our drawdown? Now, these are 2 critical things that I would definitely like you to think about here, and I'm going to give you some great information that I've found is exceptionally good as far as money management. And the key for us really moving forward as traders is to get the most out of our net profit by reducing our drawdown. So they're the 2 things that ultimately, now a lot of us focus on our risk per trade or risk per day, and what I've found is that when you start really spending a bit of time on money management and start delving into the things like geometric growth and things that are going to affect the growth of your account, and reduce the amount of drawdown you have in your account, they're really the keys to you making exceptionally good returns when you're trading. So if you haven't done a lot of money management, now this is not a money management presentation, but if you haven't done much in the way of money management, you haven't put that side of your trading to the test, or you haven't improved your knowledge base in that area, you should definitely do that, and that is definitely worth considering as far as getting the most out of your account, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. So how do we know what kind of a day it's going to be? So how does a small retail trading compete in this space with a smaller bankroll without the advantage of sophisticated automation? Well, the reality is that with today's technology, we have actually access to phenomenally good automation. It's just getting the right people to drive that for you. So from the research we've done, the team we put together, we've found that automation is very, very good at the moment. You've just got to make sure that it's definitely not a case of, okay, well, I've automated my system, it's simple, it's a strategy, I can basically turn it on now when I go to bed, get up in the morning, and there'll be a lot of money in the account. It'll work nicely, because things can still go wrong. You can still have little things that go wrong. So you've still got to manage it, but it's more of a management role. it's rather than you physically executing, it's more managing the process of the orders being taken properly, making sure the stops are working correctly, making sure your account's just ticking along as it should be. Then, developing your money management and position sizing plan to overlay on top of that. So there are still, there's still an active role. It's not a case of you buy a system, plug it in, and away you go. You don't have to really worry about it again. You still have to be an active trade manager when you have strategies that are automated, and that's the illusion that's out there that needs to be quashed, because that definitely isn't the case. So how do we take advantage of these market conditions? How do we take advantage of multiple systems, multiple strategies? Because usually it's one system, one market. That's the way most of us initially roll. We have one system, one market, and we do our best for that. So a lot of people have resisted, myself included, up until about 15 months ago, resisted the lure of automation. I was definitely, and it's all about beliefs. Until you see and believe, then you're not really, it's hard to change the way you think about the markets, but that is fast approaching becoming the most profitable way to trade in the market. And you've only got to look at what the hedge funds are doing, what the big funds are doing. Have a look on any of the employment databases and look at who they're recruiting as far as traders. They're not recruiting traders, they're recruiting programmers. C+, if you've got that, you're well on your way to getting a job. So really, it's all about developing algorithms and putting together strategies that will take advantage of market anomalies or market opportunities. So system trading, full automation versus discretionary trading. Most people will kind of, particularly if you're a discretionary trader or you like to maintain complete control or partial control of your trading, and you'll definitely probably feel some resistance towards going towards any type of automation. But it's definitely worth something to consider, even if it's not. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to have automation as part of your trading, of all of your trading, but it definitely is worth looking at it as a percentage or part of your trading portfolio, because it does leverage your time. You still need to be there, but you don't have to be. You can watch multiple and trade multiple markets with that ability. So let's continue through. I'm going to take you through at some point tonight and have a quick look at the live account. At the moment it's still got an open position, which I'll just quickly, before we go any further, that's its open position at the moment. It's trading 5 strategies. You can see there the 144, 202, 55 ticks, 610 and 987. So it is fairly active. It's had a number of trades today, but still got some open trades there. So we'll come back to that later, and we'll move on to our next slide. Now, questions. If you do have questions, feel free to ask away towards the end. We'll leave some time for questions at the end of the presentation. So I'm sure you've got plenty to ask about. So let's continue on. So the challenge is that we'll just skip this one here, and we've already discussed that. We hear this all the time, financial markets, but no one really shows us the process of how to effectively do this in your portfolio diversification. It's definitely a challenge, because getting this right can be the difference between a good year, a great year, and a fairly ordinary year. So it's imperative that we get the diversification part right, and a lot of this stems back to our ability to manage our account and our money management. So looking at 2 basic pieces of information to make comparisons. Most people, when they look at adding diversification to their strategy, they'll have a single strategy, so a single method or system, and they'll just have multiple markets that they trade. And that's the first layer of diversification, particularly for futures traders. But what we're proposing is that we can go that step further and have multiple single markets with multiple strategies using proper money management. So not only do we have one system, but we have multiple systems trading multiple markets using a money management program or formula or plan to get the most out of our trading strategy. So that's the ultimate level of diversification from the research I've done and what I've actually actively traded in the market. That's what's worked the best for us, and we're going to show you that as we go forward. So as I've covered this slide previously, but the challenge 14 months ago was to use the principle of hedging to develop a multi-system strategy. So what I found was that